Why is it that the nice guy always finishes last? Seriously, look around. In school, in offices, even in politics, the people who bend over backwards to be agreeable usually get walked over, not rewarded. You think being nice is a virtue? No, it's a strategy, and not a very good one. It's often just fear, dressed up in politeness, conformity wrapped in a smile. Think of it like this. A sheep can be sweet all at once, but it's still lunch when the wolves show up. Nietzsche saw this coming. In On the Genealogy of Morality, he warned us that what we call goodness is often born out of weakness, not strength. It's the morality of the herd, safety over sovereignty. You say you're being kind, but are you actually just avoiding conflict because you don't know how to hold power? That's the question, because power doesn't speak in whispers. It doesn't say sorry before every sentence. Niceness without backbone is like armor made of paper, useless when it counts. And here's the twist. Sometimes, the most truly moral act isn't being nice at all. It's saying no. It's confronting. It's refusing to be complicit in comfortable lies. That'll make people uncomfortable. Good. That means it's working. So if you're still clinging to the idea that niceness will save you, ask yourself, who taught you that? And why did they benefit from you believing it? Because in the next section, we're going to talk about what happens when you stop playing the game entirely. The world rewards masks, not morals. They tell you goodness wins. Be kind, be patient, do the right thing, and eventually the world will notice. But does it? Look closer, and you'll see something uglier under the surface. The world doesn't reward morals. It rewards masks, performance, optics. The polished version of virtue that looks great in a press release or on a dating profile, but has no spine when things get real. You've seen it. The coworker who plays the team player while quietly taking credit for other people's work. The activist who posts about justice all day but won't risk anything when it matters. The friend who's always agreeable, always smiling, until they ghost you the second you need them. In politics, it's charisma over character. In corporate life, it's strategy over sincerity. In dating, let's be honest, confidence, not compassion, usually wins. This isn't just a glitch in the system. This is the system. We're trained to be pleasant, palatable, polite, while the rewards go to those who know how to play. Say the right thing, wear the right mask, never rock the boat. Because if you do, you're too much, too intense, difficult. Translation, not easy to control. The truth is, systems aren't built to reward truth. They're built to reward whatever keeps them running. And that's not usually honesty. It's compliance, performance, adaptability. And yeah, it's kind of sick, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. So here's the question. Are you trying to be good or are you trying to win? Because they're not the same thing. And in the next part, we'll talk about what it really costs to take the mask off. From Rome to Wall Street, the ruthless rise. Let's not kid ourselves. History doesn't favor the gentle. It favors the ruthless. Julius Caesar didn't climb to power by playing fair. He crossed the Rubicon, knowing it was political suicide, and turned Rome upside down. Not because he followed the rules, but because he broke them at exactly the right time. Centuries later, Machiavelli looked at men like Caesar and didn't flinch. In The Prince, he argued that it's better to be feared than loved if you can't be both. Why? Because fear gets results. Love can vanish. Fast forward to modern times. Wall Street, campaign trails, boardrooms. The playbook hasn't changed. The corporate raider who guts companies for profit isn't shamed. He's profiled in Forbes. The politician who lies best on camera? Elected, rewarded, re-elected. Power still goes to the ones who understand this simple truth. Playing nice gets you applause. Playing dirty gets you control. Meanwhile, the good people, the honest workers, the loyal voters, the people who follow the rules, they're fuel. They're the gears that keep the machine running while someone else drives it. They're praised, right up until they become inconvenient. Then they're tossed aside, silenced, moralized into submission. You're being difficult. That's not the right way. Be patient. But history isn't patient. It doesn't wait for goodness to rise. It follows power. So ask yourself, are you living like the people who win, or the ones who watch them win? In the next section, we'll dig into how this power dynamic shows up in everyday life, and how you might be unconsciously helping it. Nietzsche and the slave morality trap. Nietzsche didn't just question morality, he tore it apart at the roots. In On the Genealogy of Morality, he draws a sharp line between two kinds of values: master morality and slave morality. Master morality comes from strength. It values power, pride, vitality. Slave morality? That's born from weakness. It calls humility a virtue, obedience a strength, and suffering something noble. But Nietzsche saw through the disguise. These weren't moral breakthroughs. They were coping mechanisms. When the weak couldn't win by force, they changed the rules of the game. They painted strength as evil and submission as good. Resentment became righteousness. This is where niceness starts to rot, not as a choice, but as a defense. A survival mask. You're not kind because it's noble. You're kind because it's safe, because it's what the herd rewards. Nietzsche's real jab. His critique of Christian morality. He saw it as the ultimate victory of slave values. A system that tells you to turn the other cheek, praise the meek, and wait for your reward after death. Convenient, right? Especially for those in power. Keeps you docile, keeps you waiting. So ask yourself, when you're being nice, who are you really serving? Is it a genuine choice, or is it fear in disguise? Have you internalized the herd instinct so deeply you've forgotten what strength feels like? Niceness, when it's just self-protection, becomes a cage, a quiet, polite, socially approved form of powerlessness. And until you see it for what it is, you're stuck in it. Next, we'll look at what it takes to break out of that trap, and what it means to choose power over performance. Being liked is a liability. We're taught to chase being liked like it's the ultimate prize. Be relatable, be agreeable, don't ruffle feathers. But here's the catch. Being liked is often a liability, not a strength. It makes you predictable, harmless, easy to dismiss. Think of someone like Sarah, a smart, capable woman working in a competitive office. She always stays late, never complains, says yes to everything. Everyone likes her. She's so nice, but when it's time for promotions, she's passed over. Why? Because she never made herself necessary, never challenged decisions, never pushed back. She blended in, kept the peace, and vanished in the crowd. Meanwhile, the guy who speaks up in meetings, challenges the manager, and takes credit for wins, he's a bit much, but he gets noticed, gets respected. Because true influence isn't built on comfort, it's built on friction. You can't shift culture without tension. You can't lead without stepping on some toes. People remember the ones who make them feel something, not the ones who made everything easy. Being liked is cheap. Being felt is rare. The need to be liked keeps you small. It makes you apologize for your power before you've even used it. It teaches you to filter every truth until it's palatable, which means it's no longer true. So here's the real question. Would you rather be liked, or would you rather be undeniable? In the next section, we'll talk about what it actually means to be feared, respected, and impossible to ignore, and why that might be the more honest path. Don't be nice, be strategic. Stop aiming to be nice. Start aiming to be strategic. There's a difference. Being kind isn't the problem, but being kind without purpose, that's how people end up exploited, overlooked, and resentful. Niceness is easy. It's passive. It waits for permission. But strategy, that's deliberate. It's kindness with teeth. Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, the overman, isn't some cartoon supervillain. It's someone who creates their own values instead of inheriting them from the herd. They don't ask, will people like me if I do this? They ask, does this align with who I've chosen to be? That's a whole different level of living. You don't need to be cruel to be powerful. You just need to stop outsourcing your worth to approval. Strategic kindness means saying no when it matters, calling things out when they're wrong, protecting your time, energy, and dignity, not just handing them out like party favors because you want to be seen as good. Self-respect isn't loud or aggressive. It's clear. It's knowing what you value and acting in alignment, even if it makes others uncomfortable, especially if it does. Because comfort isn't the goal. Freedom is. So don't shrink yourself into a version of nice that keeps you digestible and forgettable. Expand into a version of yourself that's intentional, grounded, and unapologetically sovereign. We'll look at what it actually means to embody this, how to move through the world with quiet power, not loud approval. The danger of emotional dependency. A lot of people think they're being nice. What they're really being is dependent, not on others for money or shelter, but for validation. Niceness, in this case, isn't a moral high ground. It's a coping strategy, a way to feel safe, to avoid rejection, to control how others see you so you don't have to face how you see yourself. Take Alex, for example. In his relationship, he's always accommodating, never argues, always agrees. He tells himself he's just easygoing, but the truth? He's terrified of conflict. Deep down, he believes that if he stops being agreeable, he'll be abandoned. So he swallows his needs, edits his personality, smiles through resentment. That's not kindness. That's emotional dependency. And it's a form of quiet self-betrayal. People-pleasing feels like love, but it's usually fear wearing a nice outfit. Nietzsche knew this trap. His challenge was simple, brutal, and liberating. Become who you are. Not who others want. Not who keeps the peace. Who you are. But that kind of honesty, it costs. You'll lose people. You'll disappoint expectations. You'll confront the parts of yourself you've been trained to bury. But the alternative? Living a life of quiet resentment, always waiting for someone else to approve of the version of you they helped create. That's not peace. It's paralysis. So before you call yourself nice, ask, is it real or is it fear in disguise? We'll talk about what happens when you step out of that fear for good and finally start acting from inner authority, not external permission. When empathy becomes a weapon. Empathy sounds noble, civil discourse, compassion, team spirit. These words get tossed around like they're sacred, but pay attention to how they're used and by whom. Because in the wrong hands, empathy becomes a weapon. a way to shut you up while keeping the illusion of virtue intact. Picture this. You're in a company meeting. The manager makes a questionable decision that hurts the team. You speak up, calmly, directly. And the response? Let's remember to keep things positive. Or worse, we need to be more empathetic to leadership right now. Translation? Sit down, be nice, don't make waves. This isn't empathy. It's control dressed as kindness. It's weaponized softness. And it works. Because the people who care the most are the easiest to guilt into silence. The ones who value connection get played into passivity. Politicians do it too. Ever notice how calls for unity only show up when they're losing control? Suddenly dissent is divisive. Protests become uncivil. But who defines civility? Who benefits when you bite your tongue in the name of being nice? Here's the truth. Real ethics aren't soft. They're steel in disguise. They require confrontation, boundaries. The courage to stand alone when the crowd starts chanting for comfort over justice. So, if you've ever felt guilty for speaking up, if you've been labeled too harsh for telling the truth, good. That means you still have a pulse. Because being ethical in a broken system isn't about being nice. It's about being unbreakable. Up next, we'll explore how to recognize these subtle power games and how to stop playing by rules that were never made to protect you. Rewrite the game or be played. If you think life is a morality play, you've already lost. Because the people running the show, they're not playing for virtue. They're playing for leverage, influence, position, and they're counting on you not noticing. Nice people lose because they think the rules are real, that the world is fair, that if they just stay good, stay humble, stay agreeable, it'll all work out. But here's the truth. The game was never built to reward fairness. It rewards awareness, the ability to see the board for what it is and choose how you move. Power isn't always about domination. It's about clarity, strategy, intent. It's knowing that under every interaction there's an invisible current, status, reputation, narrative, control. And if you're not conscious of it, you're being moved by it. Nietzsche once said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." If you don't know your why, you'll get played into someone else's. You'll follow rules that don't serve you. You'll chase approval instead of impact. So no, this isn't about becoming cruel. It's about becoming awake, understanding the systems you move through, and refusing to be blindly shaped by them. Rewrite the game. Redraw the lines. Ask who benefits every time you're told to just be nice. Because here's the truth. You either learn to play consciously or you get played quietly. In the final section, we'll look at how to build a new kind of strength, one rooted in truth, clarity, and unapologetic self-authorship. Redefining strength beyond the binary. Power isn't the enemy of kindness. Too often we're sold this false choice: be feared or be liked, be tough or be soft. But real strength lives beyond that. It's not about dominating or submitting. It's about owning who you are, fully and unapologetically. Imagine kindness, not as a default or a mask you wear to keep the peace, but as a deliberate act of power. When you choose kindness on your own terms, it's unstoppable. It's not weakness, it's sovereignty. That's strength nobody can take from you. Stop chasing approval like it's a lifeline. Stop shrinking yourself to fit someone else's version of nice. You don't have to be a doormat to be decent. You don't have to be ruthless to be respected. The power you're looking for? It's waiting on the other side of honesty, with yourself and the world. So here's the call. Stop being nice. Start being real. Drop the act. Embrace the messy, complicated, fierce human that you are. Because that's the kind of strength that changes everything.